Hey guys, what's up? It's Merc here for Toolshed Games, and today the quest for gaming at college is coming to you from my home. And the reason for that is because it is the Thanksgiving break time for my school. So I have made the journey home to spend Thanksgiving with my parents, and I am not in the dorm. Now, to kind of go along with that, there was no D&D Monday because, as I said in another video, it's coming quickly to the end of the semester, and the DM and I both had to finish writing research papers for the same class. So we decided to push it off until next Monday, which is our last week of classes. Not a lot is going on, and then we're going to do kind of, I think, our blowout bash type deal. And this Friday coming up, is my gaming group here at home, where I think we'll be finishing Folsom's Reach, which we will be getting a synopsis of the first part of that for you some point this week, I promise. So what I do want to talk about is Savage Worlds, and more specifically the day after Ragnarok, and a campaign which I started for some of my friends up at school, which we're going to get 2 sessions in, and then we'll have to wait until next semester to do it, but it'll be worth it. The day after Ragnarok is a supplement for Savage Worlds, because, well, here. The way Savage Worlds works is it is a completely open-ended set of RPG rules. The character creation is so open that there is no classes. There are no classes. You pick hindrances, which give you points to buy edges. You have points to spend on your attributes and on your skills. So it's not like D&D where you're a fighter, that's what you are, or like Pathfinder, or any of those. I really like that system, but because the basic rules for Savage Worlds are so generic, which is not a bad thing, there's really no campaign setting in the book. There's a couple of what they call one-sheet adventures in the back, which are adventures designed to be run with pre-generated characters that you can run in a night with a gaming group to get them familiar with Savage Worlds, which that's pretty cool. But the way it's kind of worked out is if you want a campaign to put the game in, you buy one of the campaign setting books that can't think of the name of the company that makes it, but that either the people that make Savage Worlds put out, which their big one is Deadlands, but they also have a Weird Wars and Flashpoint, which is a kind of pulp science fiction. You buy one of the myriad of other ones that other companies have put out, which I did, which is The Day After Ragnarok. And then that campaign book gives you a world to set the adventure in. It gives you new equipment. It gives you some skills and edges that are specific to that campaign setting. And you kind of go from there. Now, the reason I even picked up the system was this campaign book. It is pulp World War II, and to me it was just a fantastic setting idea. You have essentially, at the end of World War II, in The Day After Ragnarok, the Nazis, seeing that they're losing the war, summon Jormungandr, the World Serpent, to bring about Ragnarok. Now, the United States, seeing this happening, creates an experimental nuclear weapon. They load it up into a giant bomber. The task force flies to Europe. They spot the head of the serpent, and the bomber flies into the eye of the serpent, and the bomb detonates. Kills the serpent. Now, the serpent body falls, and it covers mostly all of Europe and North Africa. And what this does is it causes massive tsunamis and earthquakes. Almost all of the eastern United States is flooded. Almost the entirety of the UK is crushed under the serpent. I think Wales is the only thing. And Ireland is turned into this swampy, boggy nightmare. Russia survives, the Soviet Union survives relatively intact because the Jotun, the ice giants, wake up and they come down and they help Stalin, and they hold off Fimbulwinter with their magic. Australia becomes the new seat of the British Empire, and you have the Rhodes University in, I believe, South Africa. and Latin America becomes kind of a proving ground for Nazis. It's where they all fled to. So it's this really cool, and they're like making technology out of the remains of the serpent. Serpent cults have popped up to try to reawaken the serpent. It's a really, I think, awesome campaign setting, and it's very open as to what you want to do. You can either have your players work for the British Crown, the British Empire. They can be Soviet soldiers, or they can be freelancers. They can work for the nation of Texas, or they can work for what's left of the United States. My campaign ended up being a freelancer campaign because it's what I kind of wanted to do with it. And I set mine in Cuba because I thought it would be a really interesting setting. I've never really set a game in there, and it's making me learn a little bit about Cuba, especially back in the end of 1940s, beginning of 1950s. And the deal with Cuba in the setting is it was hit pretty hard by the tsunamis, but now what's left is you have this group of American gangsters that took refuge there fighting these communist rebels that are trying to take over the island. And I have 4 players in my group. And through character creation, the characters we ended up with is my roommate Mike. He is playing a British assassin who is wanted for something back in the British Empire, and that's why he has ended up fleeing to Cuba. Then we have another one of the guys in the group. He is playing a Canadian professor who is secretly a wielder of magic and the occult, and he was sent to Cuba for research, which essentially he'll end up finding. There'll probably be tomes or something down there. Another guy is playing an Alaskan, and his character ended up just being a meat shield tank. So he's kind of like a wildcat oil rig guy from Alaska who's down on his luck and ended up in Cuba. And the last player in our group is playing a washed-up Texas National Guardsman who was kicked out of the National Guard because he has an amphetamine problem and he's a bit bloodthirsty. So all that combined, and both the professor and the wildcat oil guy have codes of honor that they follow. And what works kind of perfectly for me is the wildcatter also has a vow, which his vow is to fight communism wherever it threatens democracy. So it kind of makes it easy to rope him into adventures with communists involved. But I personally think that the character creation is one of the best parts of that system because you can do pretty much anything you want with your character, as I'm sure you can kind of get a feel for from the 4 different characters I described. We started that campaign. They're in one of the big clubs down there in what I made up for Cuba. There's nothing really set in the book about it. And currently they're on a little fetch quest. They've heard some rumors about other things, like a floating hulk of a ship out in the Gulf of Mexico. But that's really all they know so far. There's going to be some twists and turns, of course. And I'm going to let you guys know how that goes. I'm going to let you know how we truly feel about the system once we dig into it and we kind of see where it shines and where it falls down. Another game that I'm going to be talking about probably next semester, next season, is All Flesh Must Be Eaten. I just picked up that book. I've been reading through it. It looks like it's going to be a pretty fun book. Zombies. I love running zombie games. But that'll be next season, more likely. And I think that's really going to do it here for the quest. Probably next week is going to be our last episode this season. It'll either be next week or the week after. I don't know if I'll probably do one finals week, and finals week will be the final episode. How's that? Yeah, that sounds good. Good job, self. But anyway, hopefully you guys liked the video. Hopefully, if you're interested in Day After Ragnarok or Savage Worlds, you can check it out. The cool thing about Savage Worlds is on their website, you can download the rules and an adventure for free. It's not the full rules, they call them the quick start rules, but it's enough that you can play and see if you like the system. I thought that was pretty nice. And once you have the quick start rules, they have a bunch of one-off adventures you can also download and run with those quick start rules to really, really see if it's a system you want to play. So I would suggest giving it a shot. I mean, it's free. You can't go wrong, really, with that. But on that note, I think I'm going to go. And I think it's about time to get some lunch. Hopefully you guys have a good day. And hopefully you guys have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time here on Bullshit Games.